Welcome, beautiful souls, to our first podcast, Unleashed. We are celebrating the radiant anthology, Goddesses Among Us. I'm your co-host, Kara Maldonado.
And I'm Kimberly Anderson, your other co-host.
And we are thrilled to dive into the heart of this transformative book series compiled with deep intuition by the incredible co-host Kimberly Anderson.
Thank you, my friend.
You're so welcome.
I absolutely love this platform. And within these pages, within the series itself, there's 21 extraordinary goddesses in each series. And they are sharing their raw, powerful stories. They're woven with love, loss, gratitude, pain, and profound wisdom. And each chapter is a beacon of inspiration. It's a seed planted to heal, uplift, and empower you and themselves. And today we're exploring more of their voices, their truths, and sharing the overall benefits personally and professionally on such a journey that you can manifest. It's been an honor to have all of you open up and share their stories with me.
Yes, it has. And to all of our viewers, just grab a cozy spot, open up your heart, and join us as we discuss further the essence of Goddesses Among Us. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. So, Kimberly, you gave us a little bit of the background on the platform. I want to get a little deeper with you because, okay, it's a platform and many people do, but this is a little different. And it's very special, but it came from somewhere. It started from something. And I just want you to discuss that a little bit with our viewers so that they can just get an idea of what made you come to this Goddesses Amongst Us.
Well, I think for one, we all have a story and we all have gone through something in our life. And on my journey, I discovered that every time we shared with each other what we've gone through, it not only helped to start to heal ourselves, but it helped the women that we were sharing our story with. It was more like oh my gosh, I can do that too. I can get out of my situation. You heal through it. And that was one of the biggest reasons, is because as I was healing on my journey, sharing and hearing others, their stories helped me heal and helped me get ideas on how to get out of situations, and vice versa when I shared my story. And I have a firm belief that all women are goddesses. I, again, created this platform to empower women and to encourage each other in our beliefs and in ourselves. The belief in ourselves is huge. A lot of times that comes back, and that's just a huge lack in our world, right? And you know, when we start to share, we're able to stand up, we get more confident, we get to start believing in ourselves again and speak our truth and step into our power, step into our brilliance, and don't let the past define us. We allow it to teach us those lessons so we can continue to grow in ourselves and become incredibly successful women that we were meant to be.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna take it a little further, because as one of the co-authors, I remember when you introduced the platform to me. And I'm obviously one of the millions and millions of women who have a story and have their own truth. But many of us were told, if it's culturally or how you were raised, or even just by fear, guilt, and shame, that you don't have a voice and you don't use your voice and you really don't talk about some of the things that this platform provides a forum to finally be able to unleash. You like how I use that word? To unleash some of the pain and some of the things that, you know, has silenced many of us for years, and some will go a lifetime and not have the opportunity. And for me, it was an opportunity to finally be able to tell my truth in a way where it felt completely safe and supported. And it was just beautiful, all the things that this particular platform meant to women. And there's many anthologies out there that allow you 1,500 words, 2,500 words, or whatever. And that's just it. You say it and you're done. You write whatever it is that you want and you're done. And maybe you'll have a great book signing, you know, maybe you won't. Maybe it'll go somewhere, maybe it wouldn't. But can you just explain a little bit about what makes this so uniquely different than most anthologies that are out there?
Well, one of the biggest things is it's not just a book. It's not just a book that you're writing those 1,500 words in and stressing out and wondering what to say. I actually sit down with you and do a video interview, and I'm having a safe, comfortable conversation with you, allowing you to share what comes up. I say it's an intuitive conversation because sometimes I'm pulling things out that you've never spoke of before and never thought you would. And so it's this incredible conversation, very powerful. And you're literally healing when you're telling me the story. I've heard that many times when I've had these conversations with the different goddesses that have come on the platform. And just being able to have a conversation where that story is just brought out of you naturally, I take that video and I turn that into your chapter. And that becomes your voice. That is your story. It's really your truth. And it's from there that we create all the other incredible things that we do on this platform, and really just not being afraid to share your story. And, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, being told you don't have a voice, you're not allowed to talk about, what happens in the house stays in the house. So for me, being able to just have a really comfortable, intuitive conversation with somebody, and I'm walking you through that progression of that story. You're not alone. You're not just sitting there writing your story, typing it up, trying to figure out what to share. It's very emotional, and it's a lot of times it's very difficult to put onto paper what it is you're trying to say. And I take all of that away by just having this really incredible, quiet conversation that allows you to open up and take that journey with me as I'm holding your hand through that process. And these stories, I'm getting goosebumps. These stories just they take on a life of their own. And, I kept the book, as you read it, it's still in conversation form. So it makes it a very easy read. You don't get lost in extra stuff, if you will. And that is one of the biggest things that makes it a very different platform than just any old anthology, which are getting ever so popular these days. But this is an incredibly different style of platform, and nobody's doing it.
And I agree with you. And I think that invitation and you then explaining to me how this chapter was going to evolve from myself, was what captured me. I've been approached many times over my years. And now, as we both are, published authors, I've done it where I've had to go into the deepest, darkest areas and pull that information. If it's just sitting there for days alone, reliving those things, are me, who has journaled since I'm 2 years old, having to go back and read through all those things, it can be somewhat traumatic in having to write in that way and reproduce that story in that way. And I don't know that people really understand that. And that's with this type of platform in any story, to have to go back and think of something that just happened 5 days ago for some people is a lot, 5, 10, 15, 20 years and more, it's a lot. But the way that you sit there and you just look at us and you smile and you go through questions. I mean, I had this whole thing in my head as to what I was going to say. I wrote it all out because I'm like that. I have to be prepared and it has to be written out. And I did all those things. And I don't think not one thing that I thought it was going to be in that chapter is what you got out of me in that one-on-one interview that we had. And I was blown away because I said, I didn't know I was going to say that. I didn't even remember that. Oh my Lord, those type of things. But the most profound thing that came out of it was the healing began. Because when you say it out loud to yourself and you say it out loud to someone else who has ears, can hear, and then you start that conversation about it, incredible things start to happen in that moment. And I know not only am I saying this, but many of the other goddesses have shared the very same expression. And, it's just done wonders for me, not only in my personal life, but professionally, because it unblocks things that you didn't even know were standing in your way.
Yep. I've had a lot of goddesses tell me that, again, they didn't know that they were going to say that. They thought it was going to go one way and it went a whole different way. And you do relive it. I love that you brought that up. You relive that tragedy or that whatever that was that happened in your life. You relive that when you're sharing it. And it comes out differently when it's in a conversation. And you hear that raw truth in the voices when you listen to these videos and hear these stories. And it is a healing journey as well, because you're sharing those pieces of you that were very buried. And now they're coming out and you're healing through it again and in a different way. And what I love about it is that you're able to, not only are you healing through that yourself, but you're allowing other women to step into their power, speak their truth, and heal through what they have gone through or what they're going through. It gives each other permission to get out of situations. I've had women tell me that I can't even imagine this person had gone through what they had gone through. And just some of the things that she had shared helped other people get out of their situation. And to me, that's so profound. And to create this goddess sisterhood, what I call it, your sister goddesses, that we can just be there for one another and help each other up, hold each other up, and just move forward and heal. And I asked you recently, like, what was it about the platform that called you to be on it? Because, like I said, there's a lot of anthologies getting put together now. And what was it about this one, if you don't mind sharing, that brought you to the platform?
Absolutely. For one, I am a firm believer about the intent. What is that person's intention behind what it is that they're asking me to do, or they're doing, or they're a part of, or they want, whatever it might be. And you are the most authentic, genuine person that I have dealt with on a personal and professional level. It's just seamless. And it's no switch up. It's the same. And the conversation that we have, I remember the day that you called me. I remember where I was. I was on my way flying out to see my grandchildren, but I had to stop by the mall. So I was in the mall speaking to you on the phone. And I mean, it was the easiest conversation. You weren't pushy. You weren't like, you were just explaining to me, like you are here, what your platform is all about. And all I can remember saying to myself is that I'm on a healing journey. I'm turning my life around from corporate to holistic and just doing everything different. And it was just weird. It was the timing that you came into my life at a time when I was making all those changes and needed all the right parts and pieces to go together and do it. And I was being very selective because, again, like you said, what goes on in the house stays in the house. And I knew the biggest thing for me was for me to start talking about all those things that I buried. And I said, oh, I can get over it. Oh, that's no big deal. I'm strong. I can keep dealing with it. But I got ill. And so that's what tends to happen. You hold on to that stress, then, that old nasty C word comes knocking at your door and you have to deal with that. And I knew that if I wanted to completely heal and move forward, I had to talk about it. And you made it so easy to talk to you about what it was. And when you said, we're just going to have a conversation, and I love that because I love saying that, even to my kids, you're not in trouble. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what makes you make those choices, or what's hurting you, or what do you need. And that's how it was. And you have consistently been that same person for all of us, no matter if it's series 1 or series 2 or whatever it is. If we need you, or if we just want to talk about it, it's a phone call away, a text away, and you respond. And you never came across like, I just want this book and I just need 21 people pay me, get in my book, and then, here I go. It wasn't that. You genuinely cared about each and every one of the goddesses and their story. And not only just their story, but how do we move forward now? And that's what people don't understand. It's the platform, and why we keep saying the platform. And they're like, oh, it's a book. No, it's more than that, because it's continuous growth, continuous healing. We're there for each other. There's so many more things that we'll get into in another episode that needs to be shared, that helped us get through this. Because at the same time as we're going through these interviews and we're editing, do you know how much fear and anxiety came up in many of us? Because it became real at that moment. the things that we were sharing was now going to be out there for the public. And yes, viewers, a lot of the things that we have shared, myself included, there's a lot of tragedy, there's a lot of trauma, there's abuse, there's pain, there's hurt, there's loss in so many ways in a lot of these stories that need to come to the forefront, because what tends to happen is you feel alone, like it's only happening to you and no one will understand. And this platform gave us that aha moment that, oh my God, I'm not a freak. I'm not weird. It's not just happening to me. There's so many women, children that are going through what many of us have went through in our lives. And you know what? Now we can all come together and share and talk about it and heal. And that was the difference. And that's why I told my story in your book, because you allowed and supported and gave back so much of that to all of us. And I couldn't say no. And it all lined up. The stars all lined up and the universe said, she's the one. You got to do it. She found you in the middle of the mall. This is not just by a mistake. You got to do it. And, you know, it was the best thing ever. It was the best thing ever. My kids even say that, you know, like I'm totally different.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. It's not about me. It's about the platform. And you're right. We'll talk about more in depth as we move on with other episodes about what the platform is, because it's not just a book. It's not you writing 1,500 words and having it in a book that's pushed out and then you never hear about it again. This platform is evergreen. I'm always looking for ways to grow it and expand it. And I want to hit all four corners of the world. My future thought about this platform is it's not just about the goddesses today that are in each series and their stories and all the other awesome things that we're doing with the platform. It's about someday when that young woman, that little girl finds one of the books or one of the other ways that we're sharing out these messages, these stories at 12 years old, and she finds it around the world and she reads it and she's in a situation and now she almost has like a roadmap to get out of that situation. And she can pull strength from all these other women that have shared their story and their truth, and it helps her. Absolutely. And who knows what trajectory that is going to put her on to become whatever she wants to be in this world, whatever she's meant to be in this world. So for me, this platform isn't about me. It's not about just having a bunch of women come together and talk about whatever. It's very intentional. It's very powerful. And I truly believe that our stories and our messages inside of them are what can change the world, change not only our life, but all of those people that we touch. And we don't even know half the time. We don't know who's going to read that story or hear it or whatever. You never know.
That's true. And I just encourage constantly, and I'm going to encourage our audience as well, as to just really step into their power by speaking their truth. And it may start with you writing it, journaling it, and then, you know, getting the courage to say it out loud. But you have to start somewhere, and that's where the healing starts. And that's why I love what you're doing here with this platform, is that you have given an opportunity for women to come together and make that first step. And it's a powerful step, just like you said earlier. It's a very powerful step. Many are afraid. They don't know. They don't understand. And until you do it, you don't even realize how important it is to your life and how life-changing it is. You have no idea until you actually do it. And I'm just encouraging everyone to start somewhere, because it's all about healing, and its strength is in numbers, 21 of them.
You know, I feel like when you are able to share that story, I know for me, when I hear stories, I can pull so much strength. And I think one of the biggest issues we have, especially as women, is we always feel alone and it's not happening to anybody else. When in fact, it's quite the opposite. And it goes back to, I think, education and helping people understand what abuse is and recognizing those red flags. And, you know, we'll talk about that down the road, but all of these different things can help us recognize in our situations what's going on. And one of my biggest philosophies is to trust your intuition. That would have kept me out of so much.
Right. But part of the problem is we're raised to be seen and not heard, right? And we're raised to not take action on those things because you have to do what you're told to do. you, right? What do they say? Do as I say, that type of thing. And so you start doubting yourself. You grow up with that and you're like, okay, this in my gut doesn't feel right, but I've been told this my whole life, so I guess I just have to deal with it. I also encourage our listeners to just go and grab a book and just start reading, just to understand more about what we're doing here and why it's so important. Even if you read a couple of stories, we're going to start sending that out as well, just so you can kind of get an idea of how powerful these stories are. And I say this respectfully, because no one wants to be able to identify, because that means you're going through it. But the reality is it's out there and it's happening. And if we don't start putting in solutions for people and places for them to go that are safe so they can talk about it, or either just figure out a way to get out of it, we have to say they're identifiable. A lot of the stories are, and it's happening, and we can no longer act like it's not and ignore it.
We're putting on this podcast because we want to talk about this and we want to get this message out more. And just like on our logo right there, it says, "In purpose, we find power." I know for me, teaching women how to trust their intuition and creating this platform for women to be able to share their story, speak their truth, we become more powerful and we can help each other. So I'm super grateful for you, my beautiful co-host, that we are doing this and really getting the message out, because it's very important to me.
Yes, absolutely. So if anything that we are speaking about on this podcast today resonates with you, or you want to know more, please like, share, subscribe, get the message out, drop in our, link, just where you're viewing us from, what your name is. If you want to share anything, if there's a topic that you're interested in or you want to know more about, please send us that information. That's what we're trying to do here. We're really trying to touch the masses by sharing our stories and the stories of these 21 goddesses and the series that we have here. And hopefully it will help one of you, even if it's just one person that we're able to touch. We're doing what we need to do. And that's what's important here. And we would like for you to be a part of that as we continue on our journey.
And we have lots more coming.
Yes, we do.
Well, in purpose, we find power. And we hope you join us on Unleashed.
Thank you so much for joining us.